Hello, pilots, and welcome back for another episode. Today we're going to be talking about different stages of air combat. I'm here with a few of my friends, and we're going to test out air combat for the first time in this series. It's going to be one of many different episodes talking about different strategies and other things you can do to transfer your energy back and forth and get an advantage over the enemy. Now, we've got a couple 109s out there. Just hanging out here while we're talking, but basically you want to think about air combat as 4 different phases. So there's detection, which we've done. You've got your intercept, which is probably the most important phase, is figuring out how to get behind those guys out there without them getting behind us, and preferably in a way where they don't see us coming. Then your third stage, and this is the one you want to try to avoid if you can, but that's going to be our engaged maneuvering, so that's the dogfight. That's when you're getting into your fur balls, that's all of that. And then there's disengagement, which is getting away, either after you've killed your target, or just if there's too many of them and you need to get out of there, getting away in a strategic manner. So our goal here with the intercept, we're just going to start with the first phase, is to arrive at where the 2 planes were merged, so that we can shoot them but they can't shoot back. It's either when the 2 aircraft get within sight of each other, or when they're about to pass in close proximity. Now we're dealing with bullets here. You're not doing any kind of rockets or anything like that. So you've got all forward-facing weapons, which are good. We're in a fighter, we're not in a bomber. Bombers, you can have a little bit of a different strategy when you have guns bristling out everywhere. But as far as the fighters are concerned, we want to get them in front of us. And that's one of the things, one of the biggest mistakes I see people making in arcade especially, is they want to do this head-on pass. I want to point my nose right at the enemy and fly straight at them. That's usually the worst thing you can possibly do. You're putting both planes right in front of each other, right where the weapons are pointing. And in air combat, this is probably the most important lesson to take away from any of these episodes is, in air combat, some people talk about, do we have winners or do we have losers? Well, in air combat, you really don't have a winner. Either you come out the same as how you were before. In this case, my plane is intact and it'll have a little bit less gasoline, a little bit less bullets maybe. But there's really nothing I can do to come out better than I am right now. Everybody loses in air combat. So your goal is to get in and out of there, or avoid it if possible if you have some other goal, without being killed. So the question is then, what's the point of air combat? If there's no way to win in air combat, then what's the point of the strategy? What's the point of trying to get better at what you're doing? It's basically different ways to get yourself set up without making yourself vulnerable. So you're not looking to win, you're not looking to dominate someone else. You're looking for ways to keep from losing. So keep that in mind. You're looking for ways to keep from being killed. That's your goal. Whether that's shooting someone else down so they can't shoot you, or whether that's dropping in on them from high altitude so they don't have a chance to catch up to you after you take a couple shots at them. You want to do whatever you can. Alright, so especially in the beginning of the arcade battles, this is a situation you'll find yourself in a lot. Doing head-on passes with people, sometimes different altitudes, sometimes not. But in this case, for people that are at lower altitude, throttle back, because you don't want to be going so fast. and just wait. I'm going to flip over a little early now. And you see? So, without even my throttle on, completely overshoot. This is something that people, they don't realize. They say, okay, well, I'm just going to do a flip upside down, and we'll get into maneuvers later, but I'm going to trade all that altitude for some speed, and I'll be right behind him, and I'll shoot him. And almost every time somebody's done this to me, what happens is they overshoot by a mile. They end up right in front of me, and I can usually shoot them down. I can't tell you how many times people don't judge correctly, and they end up pulling right in front of me. I've shot people down with dead engines. I've shot people down with no elevator, simply because they screwed up. There's no way I can ever take credit for that kill, but they do it to themselves. Okay, so when do you want to turn in early? Well, this is a good example when someone's higher than you. In this case, I'm going to be going slower when I finish my maneuver. I'm going to turn in early. And it's going to look weird, but here they are. Now I'm getting shot up pretty good because I'm right in between them. But yeah, I'm going slower than them. But this is what I needed to do to get into a firing position. So you can see there, it really wasn't difficult for me at all to, even with a separation of several thousand feet of altitude, to kind of guesstimate when to turn in. These bombers fly pretty slow. But I can guess where to turn in early like that, and that puts me right behind them. The mistake that people make, especially in arcade, is, and I say that not because arcade players are bad, it's just people usually don't spend the time to try and get better in arcade. They save it for realistic. But in arcade, it's great if you know this stuff, because you can really clean up and get those research points, get those planes unlocked. So what happens here is they'll wait until the planes are directly overhead of them. They'll pull up, level out, and find that the plane is a half mile ahead of them, 3/4 of a mile, full mile ahead of them, and they're going slower. There's nothing you can do at that point. They're gone. They're on their way to bomb your base. They're on the way to capture an airfield. Nothing you can do. Okay, so we've done it when you're higher. We've done an interception when you're higher than them. We've done an interception when you're lower, so now of course we're going to look playing field. And this is almost exactly the same as when you're coming up from... So I'll try this again. Alright. So I'm coming in. I'm not aiming at the guy, I'm just flying straight. I'm going to wait and wait, and the temptation is to point my mouse at this guy and just aim at him. But if I don't do that, I get a lot of time behind the target. If I had just pointed at him straight on, and I'll do one of those here. Let me get turned around and do one of those. So we're going to go up to the lead guy here. And we're just going to aim a mouse at him. So I've missed that. Now I'm spending way too much time trying to get turned in behind him again. Okay. So it was a lot more difficult than that first time. It's hard to hit people, especially when you have a mixed caliber airplane like this. It's hard to hit people from the side because the bullets are traveling different speeds, and because it's kind of hard to judge where to shoot. You do have that indicator, but again, like I said, if you have more than one type of gun on there, the indicator can only show you one type. So you're only going to be hitting with one of your caliber's bullets, whereas if you're behind them, chances are you're going to hit them with everything you're shooting. And that works out a heck of a lot better. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of a recap here. I'll tell you the actual official names for these maneuvers. So when we're above the enemy like this, what we're going to do is just do a straight vertical trade-off of altitude for airspeed. That's called a split S. And you can think of it as an S that's split. That's where the name comes from. So we're going to be patient and wait. And then now I'm going to go. My goal is to level out at their altitude. Okay, so that was split S. Now we're going to do the opposite of that, which is called the Immelman. It's named after a World War I ace who used the move very well. Now again, I'm going to wait until they're in front of me just a little bit. And the higher they are, the more I need to wait. Again, it seems weird. So we just parked the inside of the formation. Alright, so what happens when you've done everything right as much as you can and you end up going behind them where you want to be, where you're going too slow? Not much you can do. You don't have any more altitude to trade off, or you won't be behind them anymore. So try to do it better next time. But what happens when you're going too fast? Then you've got some wiggle room. So I'm going to wait, because I know I'm going to be going faster than them at the bottom of this split S. Here we go. And I'm not pulling as hard as a plane will turn. Remember, my goal is to end up at their altitude. So take a shot. And I'm going to pull up, flip back over, come right back down on them. I'm just temporarily storing up some of that speed and some altitude, and then getting my speed back and taking a run on them. Too close again. I think the exact same thing. Trading for altitude. Flip over. And really all you're really doing here is doing a roll. So if I'm coming in too fast, I'll come in, roll, and I'm behind them again. So this actually is a barrel roll if you look at what you're doing. So you imagine a barrel on a 45-degree angle going from my bottom right to my top left, diagonally across this guy in front. And you come here, fly around that barrel. See, I end up in. So we're going too fast again. And we're going to do it again. And I end up behind them again. So really you're just wasting that speed to gain some altitude, because you can always store your energy in altitude. And then you're exchanging that altitude back down into speed. Alright, well, that's it for this time. That was Intercepts with split S's, Immelmans, and doing some barrel rolls there at the end. But it's all the same theme, is it's trading energy back and forth between altitude and airspeed. And knowing not only what to do, but when to do it, getting your timings right, it just takes experience. I recommend jumping into a test flight like I just did with maybe a bomber flight, because they tend to fly in a straight line, and it's a good point of reference. And just teaching yourself that timing and just make it second nature. I guarantee that once you get used to judging people's airspeed, judging timings, you'll find it to be very enjoyable for your own research points, for your own lions, and for your own wins. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Please give me a like. Please give me a subscribe. That's how I know that you like what I'm doing. I am doing this for you, so please go ahead and click that. It helps me a lot. And I'll see you next time.